welcome to another video. In today's video, it's a strange tale of my life. I spent most of my adult life, I spent my entire life up to this point, up to about 2 years ago, not knowing I was dyslexic and still not even being able to pronounce it. So I literally was diagnosed by like YouTube or Google or whatever, the algorithm, right? Now, whether there was some other thing going wrong or that some actual dev at YouTube put some code into the algorithm that said if this person's spelling these words, consistently, which spelling is like my nemesis, is my freaking kryptonite, right? And so all of a sudden I started getting shown dyslexic videos. I'm like, I ignored a couple, just kept popping up. So finally I actually watched one and I was like, oh wow, that's just mind-boggling, And so it's been about a couple years now. I think I referenced it in one video a couple years ago. And it's mind-boggling. But after spending 2 years of, initially doing little testy things and watching videos and, seeing it's like, there's a lot of different types of dyslexia, like 12 or maybe or something like that. I don't know what one I am, right? But I'm as sure as you could possibly be that I've been dyslexic my whole life. I have memories, so many memories. Like the earliest memory that I was kind of just like, something is wrong or something, is I got put into this school that was really kind of like a school for kids who were being homeschooled, but I wasn't being homeschooled. So I was basically being neglected, right? And I spent a lot of time by myself, like on public transit. This is in the second grade, right? So now I'm in the second grade and in this school thing, and it's all about books. The place is just covered in books. It's about some other things too, but it's mainly just books. And I just remember sitting there and being like, I don't know how to read, right? And so I literally went through that entire, because the school wasn't teaching anything. It was the most bizarre thing ever. I learned, there was no math, because it was supposed to be for parents who were homeschooling their children, a place for the kids to all come together and actually have like interactions versus just being homeschooled and being alone and with your family all the time, right? That was in years later looking it up and looking into it. And nobody was homeschooling me, right? So I went through an entire year, made no progress on education whatsoever. Now, I think the reason why I kind of slipped through the cracks and never was diagnosed, well, it's probably a couple reasons. First, there was an incident when I was like 7 and I witnessed a shooting, and so I think that kind of like, so when people were like, God, what's wrong with me? They're kind of focused on that. Like, what did that do, right? So they never, because that was there, they never considered dyslexia, right? So, and the fact that I was smart enough to kind of work through it on my own, basically, not knowing, this is, and I mean, it's just like, it's such a no-brainer. I remember walking home from school in like junior high school and having this whole internal conversation with myself about why I couldn't get left and right down, Like I'm like, why can't I get left and right? And so I was like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with, I mean, I have a memory of in high school, probably maybe freshman year, like my mom yelling across the parking lot at a teacher, what's wrong with him? What's wrong? You know, and he just looked at me like, so I kind of bought into this whole like, what's wrong? I went down the rabbit hole of reading, I read like Dianetics, thinking maybe I got bumped in the head and I had some kind of, you know, I had just no freaking clue. And I was like, I have a learning disability? I kind of had that, but it was like, I'm smart enough to have this and this and this and this, you know? And boy, I'm telling you, if there was AI back then when I was a kid and the computer and all this, like, I think that shit would have been discovered probably quickly. Like, I wouldn't have made it to like 51 years old before I figured it out, right? And it's literally been such a hindrance in my life. And I'd say overall, it just created so much frustration, right? Like, because why couldn't I just get things? Why was it so hard? I remember specifically in junior high school wanting to do photography, right? And there was a photography class. I signed up for it. You had to memorize this 10 steps. You literally had to learn how to do your own film, process your own film, develop your own film in the chemicals. You had to memorize how to do that because it's in the dark, right? So you had to memorize this 10 things that you needed to do, even to do anything. You couldn't even touch a camera until you memorized. So you had to know how to develop film before they'd even let you touch a camera, right? And just imagine, like, it just blocked me because like the memorizing things in order, what's really tough is like the either ors, and you got to remember it's this one or that one, like left and right, you know, like all that kind of stuff is just super challenging. But on the other hand, like since I've been super young, like 13, I had an occasion where I was working on a dredge for fun and inspiration, and because it was literally like my life as a child was so devoid of inspiration or like, you know, like, oh, I can want to do that or I want to do this. It was always like, oh, that's for other people. I can't do that for this reason or that reason. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it just developed this like I can't mentality about like every single thing, right? So as I grew up, I kind of had this like, you know, oh, I can't do that, I can't do this. But I would take on to stuff, right? And so back when I was 13, I just glommed onto this dredging thing. I like moved in with my mom and her second husband, and they lived on a houseboat mortgage, the worst place to raise a kid. They literally had rules against kids living there, but so they were dredging the place, and this dude doing it, right? And it was like you had to dredge at these weird hours because of the tide, right? The dredge had to be just the right height, right? And it was crazy how these cables across the bottom, and this is years before global warming, right? This was in the time of like the ozone layer, but there was a lot of pollution. And this river, the Willamette River, was so polluted. It was like, maybe still polluted. It was just nasty, right? And so at that age, at 13, I had constructed, from what I learned on this dredge, I had constructed this whole entire mechanism. That the concept was to take this thing all the way up to the beginning of the river and basically just start with dredges, scooping when you go down the river, and just like this, and like trying to isolate where the pollution is coming from, like on a inch by inch basis. and then this giant apparatus that goes down in the water would literally be like pressure washing down. So it would just be like this one giant, but you'd be scooping up a lot of it with dredges, but you just push this whole entire, and then you'd have a clean river, right? At 13, that's what I was thinking about, right? So there's like the whole, at this point, it's like, I don't know if dyslexia is something wrong with me, right? I don't know if it's a wrong thing. I would say it's a different thing. Like my brain works differently than normal people without dyslexia, right? So at this point in my life, it's just bizarre to look back in my past and just have these instances of just, like what's going on, and then actually figured it out and actually be like, whoa, I was dyslexic and it's just like the way it is, like, because literally like I had this whole notion of like, what's wrong with me? And I just randomly say that shit, like, what the fuck's wrong with me? And I said that to, I don't even know, probably people I should never said it to, because when you say that to people, they don't know if you're, like, oh, I want to rip puppies' heads off or something like that, right? Like, no, I just don't, I can't spell. Spelling is just such a freaking, and it didn't help. The school systems were kind of set you up for failure with the hours that they operated, having to be at school at 7:30 in the morning at high school. Like, my circadian rhythms were so not 7:30 in the morning, right? And that was just brutal, right? So you compound that with the fact that I'm dyslexia and just whole segments of school. Now, I got my GED and I actually scored really high on it, like 10 years later after I dropped out. Like, so evidently things were sticking. It just, they didn't manifest into like good grades. And obviously I got my GED. I didn't go on to college or anything like this. And the way my brain works, I most definitely could have been doing engineering and this type of thing, computer stuff, but I would have had to been identified as a dyslexic, like really young. And then honestly, I don't even know what the process is or what, it's like, especially I'm a gamer, and so I'll like look at these gamer names, right? And people make up all these crazy names, right? Well, when I just glance at something, I see like something that's not even there, that's even crazier than what they wrote. And then once I kind of focus on it and I can think about it, then it all clears up and I become, So, it's really those crazy words that don't mean anything are really challenging to, decipher. But, like reading at this point in my life, I just don't like it. But, when I'm trying to figure something out, like, and I have to read directions or something like that, yeah, whatever. I feel like Lilu from The Fifth Element, when she sits down in front of that computer and just gets all that information, I feel like that's, like, had the learning potential of, like, what we have now, but when I was a kid, like, I'd probably be doing something just, next level with, big brain type stuff, had that been, because like we're not even optimizing learning in some parts of the world, like they are, but for the technology that we have and the information we have, like huge classrooms full is just killing human potential. Like the intellect level could go up a lot more, but that's a whole nother video. You can watch my video here if you want to see how to make smart people. Then, thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you wouldn't mind subscribing, dropping a like. Peace. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching my video.